Looking at Ground Zero today, busy with commuters and tourists, it's hard to imagine that 5 years ago, this place was smothered by a vortex of dust and ash so thick it blacked out the sun and turned the day into a nightmare. Thousands of people were engulfed by the dust that day, and in the weeks and months afterwards, when the dust lay over everything, many thousands more continued to breathe it in. Some experts suspected right from the beginning that the dust presented a serious health hazard, but no one knew for sure. Then, people started getting sick. The first indication that something was wrong came out of the New York City Fire Department. Working directly on the huge pile, often without proper respiratory equipment, many of the 12,000 firefighters started coming down with nasal and sinus irritations. The culprit? The dust, especially the large particles. Scientific analysis of the dust showed it to be as caustic as drain cleaner. But later studies showed that it wasn't just the firefighters who were hurt by the dust. In 2004, the Mount Sinai Center for Occupational and Environmental Medicine published a medical report showing that more than half of the steel workers and other people who worked in the massive recovery and cleanup operations complained of significant respiratory problems that had developed after 9/11. The federal government provided money for screening the workers, but they were left mostly on their own when it came to getting treatment for the asthmas, sinusitis, and gastrointestinal problems they had developed.
Good morning, I'm Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, and I represent parts of Manhattan and Queens. All of us know that many, many people lost their lives on 9/11, yet many, many more lost their health. Well, we wish we were not here today. We wish the government had responded to the needs of the people. They would rather have their treatment than to be called by all the elected officials heroes and heroines.
Then, in the first weeks of 2006, came the death of a 34-year-old New York City detective, James Zadroga, who had clocked hundreds of hours at Ground Zero. The coroner's report officially linked his death and the terrible scarring on his lungs that had led to his death to his work on the pile at Ground Zero. It was the first, and so far the only, official link between the dust and the death of a responder. Since Detective Zadroga's death, the federal government has openly acknowledged that the dust is causing a variety of ailments. In February, Dr. John Howard was named National Coordinator for 9/11 health problems.
But we've never had a city, a United States city, attacked like this. We've never produced this kind of a dust cloud. So I think we're working our way through that issue. So I think the reason it's taken so long is because we're all coming to this realization, which I don't think any of us expected, that 5 years later we would be seeing people with health effects.
The federal government finally allocated money, more than $50 million, to provide treatment for some of the ill responders. But Dr. Howard concedes that it won't go very far, especially if, as some doctors fear, there may be a sharp increase in cancers and leukemias linked to the dust.
It is a significant, the most significant event in our recent memory, and it's becoming the most significant medical event also in terms of how do you take care of people who responded and who were affected by this disaster, and it's involving a lot of folks in terms of that thinking. How do we get through this period of time, and how do we provide the best medical information and services to affected populations?
So far there have been delays, timid responses, and such a lack of scientific rigor about understanding the problem that nobody knows how far the dust traveled or how many offices and apartments might have been contaminated. All that has shattered the sense of trust in government. And that, Dr. Howard says, has serious implications for the future. What if there is another attack, another environmental disaster? Will people be willing to listen to government officials if there is a need to evacuate? And will they trust officials if they are told that it is safe to come back? At Ground Zero, this is Anthony DePalma for the New York Times.